cal USP.
Yep, this is going to be a controversial video, so grab the popcorn, sit back, and enjoy the show. Hey folks, thank you very much for tuning in. My name's YellowHat, and today we're going to cover a weapon that is arguably one of, if not the most powerful weapons to use in Pavlov. This weapon, of course, is the one and the only 50 cal sniper. The 50 cal, or sometimes affectionately referred to as the best shotgun in the game, is a weapon that is both loved and hated by the Pavlov community. Boasting an impressive 200 damage, this weapon is always, and I mean always, a one-hit kill. Even if you shoot somebody in the toe, they will go down in one hit. The other damage statistics of this weapon do not affect its one-hit capabilities in any ways, as the 50 cal does 100 armor damage, 100% armor pen, it does 100 damage to the helmet, and it has 100% helmet bleed. So then, with this massive damage, the 50 cal should be an easy gun to use, right? It's just point and click, right? Well, not entirely, and here's where we get to the juicy stuff. So to actually hit your shots, you're going to need a steady hand, quick reflexes, and sometimes a little bit of luck. For the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that you're using a scope in the default position, as that is the accepted rule for any sort of competitive play in Pavlov. For the folks watching this that play the Shack version, I know you don't have scopes yet at the moment, but this video will definitely apply to you when the engine upgrade gets released for the Shack version. Also, as a side note, you should learn the weapon with the scope in the default position. You're only cheating yourself if you move it forward or backwards or take the scope off of it. To get to the stats that matter more for the 50 cal, let's talk about its bullet velocity first. The 50 cal bullet is coded to travel at 1,968 feet per second, which when compared to other rifles is a bit on the slower side. This means that you'll have to lead your shots ever so slightly more than you would with an AWP or any of the other bolt-action sniper rifles. The other thing holding the 50 cal back is the fact that you have to reload after every shot, as the weapon can only hold one round as it has no magazine. Economically speaking, the 50 cal is quite an investment. It's $4,800 and it yields no kill bonus at all. So the 50 is only worth it if you can get kills with it. A good rule of thumb with the 50 is that if you want it to be economically worth it, you need to hold on to it for at least 2 rounds and get at least 4 kills with it. This is because you need to get back the money you spent on it with win bonus, and in addition, you need to deny the enemy economy by killing multiple people, since players can pick up multiple rifles. If you get a 50 pick and they're able to save the gun, then that pick really wasn't worth much of anything besides the numbers advantage. This is also why I do not recommend going with a double 50 cal setup. By this I mean having 2 players on 50 cals. You spend a lot of money doing so, and you reduce your effective damage per second output as a team. So then, how do you actually play as a 50 cal player? How is it different from playing with a rifle? This depends on a few things, and one of those things being what side you're playing. So, we'll start with the defensive side, or CT side as more people know it as. Playing defensively as a 50 cal player is more often worth it. It's best to be in a position where you have multiple angles to peek from, as one of the biggest tips I have is to never re-peek the same angle as a 50 cal player. Peeking the same angle over and over again makes you predictable, and it'll often lead to your death if you're not able to hit your shots. A missed shot on CT side means that Ts can and will take away map control from you. Retakes as a 50 cal player are difficult, and most often you'll just wind up saving the gun, as you'll never want to hand a 50 cal over to the other team if you can avoid it. Think of retakes as a role switch. In short, CTs become Ts and Ts become CTs. With that said, this provides us with a nice segue on how to use the 50 cal on T side. T side, or offensive side 50 cal, is definitely harder to play as well as harder to justify doing. Most often you'll be required to entry frag for your team, and they'll be relying on you to get a kill. Aggressively using the 50 is difficult, as you'll be reloading and thus vulnerable between each shot. Where the 50 is best used is as a support player. It is quite powerful to use the 50 cal to hold off rotates or to lock down angles so your team can take a site. As soon as the bomb is planted, you can play much more defensively with it. So with the knowledge of how to use the 50 cal, the question becomes, how do you play against a 50 cal? The key to dealing with any 50 cal player is to bait out their shots. There are multiple ways to do this. The most consistent way is to flash or smoke off the angles they are holding. This will undoubtedly force them off an angle, and you can take more map control to make their fight uncomfortable. Another way to deal with a 50 cal player is to double peek with your teammate. Even if you or your teammate dies to a 50, getting the trade kill on them is much more valuable for you than it is for them, as you or your teammate can pick up dropped weapons and the 50 cal at the end of the round, if that trade kill happens, of course. Lastly, you can jiggle peek a corner to bait out a shot. This is the riskiest strategy as you're exposing yourself, but if you're out of util and you're out of teammates, this really is the only option. That, or make the shot hard for the 50 cal player and try to play a head peek spot where only your head is visible. Either way, you want to ensure that you make the fight as difficult as possible for the 50 cal player. So then, with all of this said, with all this information, the question that I'm sure people will still be asking is the 50 cal overpowered? The simplest way to answer this is to talk about the 50 cal's risk versus reward potential. A weapon that is overpowered, in my personal opinion, is something that is low risk at a high reward, generally speaking. An example of this was the pre-nerf revolver, as it was 2 hits at any range and only cost $800, meaning that you could buy it every single round if you wanted to. The risk of buying one of these was low and the reward potential was pretty high. Overpowered weapons also tend to make other weapons in the game completely obsolete. Again, with the pre-nerf revolver, it made the Desert Eagle rather useless to use, as the killing potential of the Revo was better than the Deagle outright, and it did it for the same price and kill bonus as well. So with the 50 cal, when it comes to risk, purchasing and using the 50 cal is very risky. It's $4,800 as we mentioned earlier, and it gives no kill bonus, and you only get 1 shot before you're exposed reloading. In addition, the current state of the hit registration of this game makes the 50 cal less consistent overall, so immediately right there, the weapon is certainly a high risk weapon. In terms of reward, this is a little bit more subjective. While the kill bonus is $0, being able to get an early pick with the 50 is devastating to a team that isn't prepared to deal with one. However, with the ability to save multiple rifles, if the 50 cal player only gets 1 pick and can't deny the enemy team saving, even with the round win, the reward isn't that great. I would honestly classify the 50 cal as a low to mid reward weapon. So, with the 50 cal's risks outweighing the rewards, in my personal opinion, the weapon is not overpowered. And I'm sure that some of you will not like that answer, but you heard my reasoning, and that is where I stand. Is the 50 cal powerful? Of course it is. I'm not going to deny that fact. It's meant to add to the strategic dynamic of the game. Using and playing against the 50 cal requires a completely different skill set and approach than playing against rifles. And now that you're armed with the knowledge, hopefully you can use both the 50 cal more effectively and counter it effectively with your team. I will say, in the context of something like TDM or something outside of S&D, I can see how it can be annoying to play against. And if the hit registration of the game does improve, I can see more people wanting the weapon completely out of the game. I won't deny the fact that it is a very powerful weapon in the right hands. A way that the 50 cal could be further balanced would be to reduce the damage to say 120 so that it's still a 1-hit, but in the toes and shins, it doesn't 1-hit. However, there are arguments against this in terms of both realism and the fact that it would still 1-hit to the thigh and arm since there's no damage reduction to either of those regions. Perhaps a weapon weight system could also help balance the weapon a bit too. Either way though, I still think that for now, given all the pros and cons, the 50 cal is in a decent spot for the time being at the high level, and in the S&D meta, it's not as overpowered as people make it out to be. To finish off, I'll be showing off a competitive round where I use the 50 cal both defensively and offensively. Note how the weapon is used at both close and long ranges. The last thing I'll say is that you need to be good with the 50 cal both up close and at far ranges to make use of it. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this round.
Oh, my silence.
You can.
Should I? They're gonna be 26, right? They force by no armor.
Keep running this AK.
Gear shift forced by rifle, yeah.
Were they no armor that round?
No, they had armor. They had full life.
Yeah, they bought down 0. I
I think
don't
they
know.
have full life.
Left. I'm a tiny little bit later.
That's fine. I'm probably gonna smoke it early. Yeah, they're here.
B.
Go freak, I'll stay.
No.
Heavy tags?
terrible. There's one close. There's one close.
Oh, he had main nice. They have retail.
No, I'm flashed on crystal. They're on site. One on site.
One util dead.
1A line.
One on site. He's
Yeah.
behind the dinosaur.
Got crystal.
That was dinosaur.
2A
Still
line.
one,
I'm coming.
Outside bombs A. There's still one on B.
Fuck. 1 in lounge. They're on A.
Got window.
2-2.
Wait for you. Freak. 1-2.
They're by the vending machine.
You're there, buddy. Okay.
Two, 1-1. Nice, you
Oh my
fucking
gosh.
Yo, phase the fuck up, boy.
Fade.
Phase up,
Wait,
baby!
wait.
That's going to do it for this one, folks. If you have any further questions or want to discuss the 50 cal at all, feel free to leave a comment below. I always enjoy hearing the different opinions that the community has on certain things. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something useful, please feel free to leave a like, and if you want to see more or be notified of when I upload, hit the subscribe button and click on that bell icon below this video to get notifications. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Take it easy.